All right, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Overshare Hour. How are you doing today, Kens?
I'm good. I have the week off from work this week because the little boy that I nanny is out of town visiting his extended family. And I thought that it would be like this really peaceful week. It's not. It's freaking crazy out here in these streets. I don't know. I'm like the second I don't have work, I'm just like, "Oh, I have to do all these things to take my car to get the tires and do the blah blah blah." So, I'm grateful that I have time to do those things, but it also feels like they're not even getting done, so I don't know. But I'm
Yeah,
good.
no, I get
I mean,
that. I'm
at
like,
least it's
life
just
doesn't ever fully slow down.
no, it doesn't feel like I guess I just thought it was gonna be like me and my book, like, on the couch for the week. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
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 right.
not
Maybe next
exactly.
time. How about
Maybe
you?
next time. Yeah, gosh, how am I doing? I'm doing rough. I think
Okay.
it's been a heavy week,
Yeah.
but personally, I guess I'm doing okay.
Okay.
But I think that everything in the world, I think a lot of us can relate to just feeling a little heavy. So I'm sure
Yeah.
we will get into that as we talk a little bit later in the episode.
Yeah.
But other than that, I am doing okay. I am ready to get into these submissions. We have some good ones today, and then we will
Yeah.
also go into our overshare moment at the end. And just to remind you, we are not therapists as much as we thought maybe we would be someday, and then we didn't go to college. We are not therapists. We are just giving our advice.
Ah, that's so funny. It's true. It's like, I thought about being a therapist, but, let's just do an advice podcast instead.
Less pressure
Yeah,
because
right?
I get to put the disclaimer.
Okay, let's get into it. I'll read the first one.
Okay.
Okay. It says, "My best friend is getting married, and I just found out I'm not in the bridal party. We've been friends for over 10 years. Although we don't live in the same state right now, we still talk constantly and talk on the phone weekly. I saw that she asked another girl who she's only known for like a year to be a bridesmaid instead. I want to be supportive, but I also feel hurt and left out. Do I say something or let it go?" Oh,
Ooh, man, I wish I had advice.
best friend.
Wow. Best friend of 10
Mhm.
years, and then
Yeah.
also just the salt in the wound of this person that they've only known a year. So I guess my question for you is, do you know how many bridesmaids she's gonna
Mhm.
have? I'm wondering how many is she just having one and she just picked
Yeah.
that girl to do it, or what the situation is there? I I feel like I wouldn't be able to not say anything. I think
Yeah.
naturally I would have to say something, but on the other hand, I understand that pull of feeling like you don't want to feel petty or feel like it's unfair to ask, because I do feel that in wedding culture, it's kind of like whatever the bride says goes. So for you to say anything, and then also what would actually come out of that conversation that might be helpful, because is your goal to have her ask you to be a bridesmaid? And then in that case, I would feel, well, okay, she didn't want me to be, but now she feels
Yeah.
guilted into making me a bridesmaid. So I don't know. The more I talk, the more I'm thinking maybe I wouldn't say anything. I don't know. What do you think, Kenzie?
Well, I have a question for
Uh,
you, Juby, after
mhm.
based on what you just said. Do you feel like if this was you, that it would make you rethink the closeness of your relationship?
Ooh, yeah, 100%. I I feel like I would be wondering, do I think that we are way closer than we are, especially if I feel like this person is my best friend and that perhaps they would be my maid of honor,
Mm,
to not even be in the bridal party. Yeah, that would make me rethink things. And it
yeah.
reminds me of, Bethel had crazy beliefs and all of that. But I do remember one time they talked about the circles of friendship.
Yes.
And they would say, who's in your inner circle, who's in the next ring of people, and then the ring after that. And I think what I would be thinking is, she is inner ring in my mind,
Yeah.
and am I not inner ring? Or it feels like I'm not inner ring anymore. So I do think
Yeah.
that that would make me question a bit. And I think I wonder why the bride chose the way she did, if
Mhm.
she's going based off of just proximity and who she sees all the time, but it sounds like you guys talk a lot, that you guys are
That's what I
still
was
in
thinking.
communication. It's not that you moved away and you guys stopped talking. So yeah, I don't really understand that choice because to me,
Yeah.
when it comes to weddings, you kinda wanna pick the people who've been around a while, you
Yeah.
know, and who are
Yeah,
gonna be
and
there.
yeah, I think, like, I do understand those fast and hard friendships where you meet someone and it's like that soulmate friend feeling and wanting them to be in your bridal party. I think it would be really hard for me to find that my best friend chose to put them maybe in my place or instead of me, or without me. I think that would be the hard part. Not necessarily that that person exists in the bridal party, but that I don't,
Totally.
you know? So I think that is really the question that I would have. I think maybe I wouldn't ask, why am I not in the bridal party before the wedding happens? I think I would just kind of let it go. And that is so hard to do. Like, I think that I would be really hard to celebrate with your best friend because you probably imagined yourself standing next to her while she got married. I know that I would feel that way. So it would be really hurtful and hard to kind of put on that brave face for me, I think, but I think that is what I would do. I think I would put on the brave face, go through with the wedding, like let her have her day and do the planning and, be there for that. But I don't think that I could continue the friendship after that without having some sort of conversation and just being like, I'd love to know what caused you to make this choice and let you know that it caught me by surprise. And you could even be honest and be like, I feel awkward saying this. I feel yucky bringing this up. It feels weird. But also, this is what our friendship looks like and means to me. And I'm just wondering if you feel the same way because it's almost, we've talked about this before about how hard it is for us to have conflicts with our friends, but it's not that difficult to have it in our romantic relationships. It's kind of the same way when we're trying to like figure out where we're at with our partner or like, so how are things going? There's conflict. We need to work through it. Like, are we still on the same page? It's okay for us to have those conversations in our friendships. We just don't practice it and it's not part of like our friend culture. I don't think that we've learned. But it is okay to have those conversations, and I feel like maybe this would be the catalyst for that type of conversation for me. So I would wait because I wouldn't wanna be guilting her either, like you said, Juby, to, like, be put into the bridal
Yeah.
party, that would be super weird. Um, but I would wanna know why, and I would wanna know if it meant something about how the relationship is being viewed from her perspective, because if it's the same and you're like, "This is my best friend of 10 years," but for her, she feels a distance, it would be good for you to know that. I would wanna know that. So, I
Yeah.
don't know, what do you think about that?
No, I think that that makes a lot of sense. If you were to say something before the wedding, if you felt like you couldn't hold it
Yes.
in and that there's no way that you can just like have this weight on your chest and not say something, maybe you could phrase it not asking about the bridal party, but just like doing a friend check in
That's a good
of,
idea.
just checking in, wondering how you're feeling. Are we good? Trying to
Yeah,
think how you would phrase that, but try to find a way to just do a friend check in like we do with our partners. How are we
yep,
doing? Are we good? And maybe through that, you might get some answers as to why she made that decision. But
yeah,
yeah, that would be hard for me to attend the wedding. And not saying I
yes,
wouldn't attend the wedding, it would just be hard to
yeah,
be in the background, especially if she's also wanting you to help plan. I know you didn't say that, but I also feel like so often friends are all hands on deck. So
yeah,
I
that
don't
would
know.
be so hard. I'd
I
be like,
would be
"Sorry, I'm
hoping.
busy that day."
I think if
Uh,
you're not a bridesmaid, and I hope this doesn't sound petty, but if you're not a bridesmaid, I do think there are kind of bridesmaids duties. So I
Absolutely.
would feel that I don't want to be given responsibilities without the honor of, and I know you didn't even say that. I just feel I've been in enough weddings to know, you know? Like, I'm
Speaking from
thinking
experience.
our ex-friend,
Yes.
Crystal, I mean, there's just a lot that goes into these things, especially for some of the more higher demand, brides. So,
Yes.
yeah, maybe having, like, some personal boundaries if something like that were to come up, but,
Yeah,
man, I'm sorry.
that's
I
fair.
It's hard, and I wouldn't say that it is the end of your friendship or anything like that,
No,
but, yeah, I do think that having a conversation is necessary at some point because it would be very hard to never address that and just keep that internally. I
I
don't
could
know
never
how you
do it.
would. Mhm.
No, that would be really, really difficult, especially if you want to continue the depth of this relationship. For me, that would just bring me up to the surface, and it would be hard for me to go deep with that person because
Yeah.
that takes vulnerability, and I feel like immediately I would just be like, "Why do you hate me? Like, why don't you
So
love me
you
anymore?"
hate me and you think everybody's better than me?
That's what
So
happens when you
real.
hold things in, it comes out in the wrong way at the most unwanted times. At least
Yeah.
that's what it does for me. So, yeah, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. I hope you get some answers.
Yeah, and guys, let us know if that's ever happened to you. I feel like this is
Mhm.
kind of a common thing.
Yeah.
Weddings bring out a lot. And I will say the amount of times that people have commented and told me that after their wedding, their maid of honor and them never spoke again, or bridesmaids had falling out the second the wedding was done.
Yes.
There is something about weddings that I don't know. It gets weird.
It's one of those big life moments. People will say the same thing about, like, when you experience a big grief or you have a baby or you get married, like, these big moments is when you figure out who your true friends are.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. All right, you ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
This one was cracking me up. Okay. I went on a first date with a guy who seemed totally normal. We went to dinner, and when the bill came, he insisted on paying. But the next morning, I woke up with a Venmo request for $43.17, and the note said, "Your half of last night." Smiley face. I pa- not the smiley face. Okay. I paid it, but I felt weird about it. I've never had someone ask me to do that before, and he seemed like he had wanted to pay. And he asked me out on another date, and I don't know if I'm interested. Am I wrong to think that that was kind of cheap?
Oh my gosh. Ooh, it's so weird and cringe to me that he was like, "No worries, babe. I got you, babe." And then the next morning he's like, "So about last night." Okay. So here's my take and like what I think is going on here. I think he was testing her to see if he wanted to go on a second date with her. Cuz you know these
Interesting.
guys these days who are like, we shouldn't have to pay for the first date. Like we want women who can pay, right?
Mhm.
And that's fine, whatever. Be upfront about it. But what if he was like, "No, I got you, no big deal," and then wanted to see how she would react or respond to him asking? Because I'm sure she was extremely kind about it and was like, "Okay, if you want your money, you know." But she could have been like, "Hell no. Like,
Yeah.
you took me on a date," you know? And I'm sure a lot of women would have responded that way or any other type of way. They might have been like, "F you," right? Who knows? But maybe she responded in a way that he respected or that was attractive to him or a way that he was, like, kind of testing the waters to see if she
Oh,
would.
she's willing.
Oh, okay. She's okay for paying. Oh, she's not gonna make a big deal out of it. Oh, she's not gonna be dramatic or crazy. And then he's like, "Yeah, I definitely wanna take her on another date." And he's like, "Okay, wanna go out with me again?" I kinda think that's what's happening.
No, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. And
Is it
I
really?
my I do like I think it makes more sense than what I was thinking. So, I had two thoughts. Okay,
Okay.
first thought is I was wondering, is he just cheap and he was trying to impress the waiter, which I hate that when guys are just
Maybe.
like,
Maybe.
want to seem like I'm willing to pay. That way I look
Mhm.
like a really good guy, but secretly I'm gonna Venmo request you later. Or this is negative Nancy Juby coming out, okay?
Okay.
Did he pay for food because he thought he was gonna get lucky and then he didn't? And then he's like,
Oh.
actually pay your half.
Wait.
I don't know, but probably not. I think yours is more likely, but I do
I don't
think
know. Yours sound very possible. I feel
yeah.
like mine's
I
a
mean, I
little bit
would
more
hope
out
not.
there. I don't know.
I could
You
see
never know.
people
Okay, go
testing
ahead. Keep
though,
talking. Yeah?
because guys can be like that. All the way around, it's not great to me. I feel like it's less about him wanting you to pay your half because I I don't know, everybody has different opinions. I
Yeah.
could hear the argument of people saying like there's nothing wrong with going splitsies on the first date and totally,
Mhm.
especially we don't know people's financial situations and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, I don't think that the men always have to pay or anything like
Totally.
that. But I think the fact that he made it seem like he was good with paying and then
Yes.
there was zero communication. It
Mhm.
just feels like, does this man have good communication? Because
Yeah.
you're gonna be dating this man. Imagine, say you really fall for him and then he continually has bad communication or he does things that make you kind of feel off balance and you don't really know what's going on. Is that kind of somebody who you would actually want to date? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was a weird ask. I've
It was
never Venmo requested anyone, to be honest. I don't think.
no.
I might,
I
like,
think
say,
it's weird.
"Hey, you said you were gonna send me the thing," or I might mention it if I see someone in person because I would know that they meant to send it to me and we had an agreement, but I don't
Yeah.
think I would ever just randomly like, for example, say we had a game night. I get boxed wine. I
Yes.
bring boxed wine, and which I typically do.
Yeah.
If I Venmo requested you $10 boxed wine without ever having spoken to you about, like,
It's so weird.
that's weird. Like, you don't Venmo request people unless you agreed on that beforehand.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's giving weird.
Yeah, it is giving weird, and I think regardless of the cause, like, what caused him to do this, the communication piece, like, you've hit the nail on the head with that because the way he insisted that he pay and then
Yeah.
just out of the blue is like, "Hey, you're half," as if the way he worded that is as if you had talked about that and that you would be expecting the Venmo request. And so the only appropriate way I would say to ask for that money would be to have for him to have that conversation. Like to literally be like, "Hey," this would be I'm sure he wouldn't want to do this, but this would be the appropriate way. Like, "Hey, I paid for last night not realizing, maybe how much the bill was going to be. It was a little steep for me. Like, would you mind splitting for last night?" And like that I would probably say, "Okay, like so there's financial things like we're not serious." I would appreciate the honesty and maybe go on the second date depending on if I liked the guy or not, if there was good vibes. I would say that's what it would take. But just to ask like y'all had talked about it, this type of thing, like you would have to expect that to be the rest of your relationship and you just being confused all the time. Like what is happening here? That's that's what I would think. So no, I mean, unless you just
No.
think he's like the love of your life, I don't think that he is.
I don't
I would
think that
probably
you think he's the love of your life
no.
because you're already saying you don't know if you're interested. And I think that we can often make excuses if we are head over heels for someone. So I think
Yeah.
if your gut was telling you to do this, you would not have written in. So
Yep. Don't go.
I don't know. It's weird.
Okay, GB, I have a question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Would you have paid him back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
but
too.
I totally understand someone not. I
Yeah.
I understand the principle of it, but I think if I responded and if I sent it, I would think, "Okay, well, this is done. That was super weird, and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
be speaking to you anymore." Because it feels a little disrespectful when you act like
Yeah.
you're gonna pay. But yes, I would, because if someone's ballsy enough to ask for something like that, I also don't wanna have an enemy. If this man
Yes.
really thinks that I that he deserves that money, I'm not gonna piss him off,
Yeah.
which, to be a woman,
I
honestly, that
know.
is where my mind goes, but because 'cause I'm like, "I don't
Yeah,
know this
I would
guy."
too. I would pay him back just because it would make me feel weird. Like, I would then feel like
I'm
I'm
not.
stealing money or something. I don't know, it would just feel weird to me, but I wouldn't feel that way if someone were to tell me the story and say, "No, I'm not giving them the money." Like, he offered to pay,
Yep.
he insisted on paying. I wouldn't feel weird for them, it's just for myself, I think I would.
You know
Okay,
what
that's
would
I
be
just was wondering.
petty and might
What?
be the way to go? Say, "Yeah, can you send me an itemized receipt?"
Wait, maybe I would do that.
Feel like, let's see. Let's
Unless I
see the
had
breakdown."
seen the bill and it made sense, like, the
Mhm.
money that he was requesting, maybe I would.
Yeah. I would be curious, did he split it down the middle? Because if he did,
Yeah.
I'd be like, Sorry, my dish was less expensive than yours, so if
Yeah,
you're
I
gonna
didn't
nickel and
have a
dime
drink.
me, I'm gonna nickel and dime you." Maybe fight petty with petty, but
Yeah, that's funny.
it's weird that he
I
thinks
can't get
that that
over
would
it.
even go across well,
Yeah.
honestly. How is that
"You're half of last night, smiley face."
the smiley face
No,
got me.
me too.
But I've seen stories like that before. I mean, this is not an isolated incident
Like, people like, on
on
TikTok
TikTok.
or
Mhm.
really?
Yeah,
Dang.
similar ones, date horror stories, you hear stuff like this. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Guys, that's wild."
Yep.
All right. Are you ready for the next one?
Yes, I'm ready. I'll read it. This is a heavy one. It says, "How do we cope with the insane rise in Christian nationalism right now? Like, what is happening?"
Hmm. What is happening? Yeah, so Ken's and I were like, should we do this one? This one's very heavy. There is so much going on in the world, but I think the reason that it's important to talk about it is I think none of us know what the heck is going on or how to cope with it
Nope.
because it's just incredibly heavy. So, obviously, there was a lot of stuff in the news last week. What happened with Charlie Kirk, and
Yeah.
we do not condone violence at all. And then on top of that, we've also been seeing a very interesting response of people trying to rewrite history and
Mhm.
act like his views were not harmful,
Mhm.
which, there
Yeah.
were many, many harmful views there that have harmed so many different communities. And I think that this past week has been really heavy, to be honest. I know how I told you guys I had fibromyalgia back when I was with my ex. My body has felt achy this week.
Are you serious?
Just like, yeah, overloaded by stress to the point where if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a puzzle behind me because I got back into puzzling because I was like, I need to chill the F out and like disconnect, do something for myself because it's just been incredibly heavy to be online and to see people come out of the woodwork with very interesting beliefs that you did not know that they felt that way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on it because we did have a listener write in and she wanted me to talk about it. So this is me trying to not get into drama, but
Yeah.
address something that had happened. And essentially, I was on this podcast last year, and it's a domestic violence podcast, and I was invited on. I didn't apply. So I just want to say I didn't apply, and I'll explain why that matters later on. But she reached out to me when she was first starting her podcast and she saw my Disney World burger video, asked me to be on. I said yes, and we've remained friendly since then. So um, she would send me memes sometimes, and we're just kind of Instagram friends. And her podcast continued to grow. And this week, she made a video saying that not only was she conservative, because I think it's one thing to be conservative and it's another to hold the beliefs that she went on to say,
Yes.
she does not believe in feminism at all, which she is a DV advocate. Her entire
Mhm.
platform is focused around domestic violence. So to say that you don't believe in feminism, which is essentially equality for
Right.
women, obviously upset people. And she was saying that this is good versus evil, saying that the evil is liberals. And I was shocked by this video. And as I went into the comments, she was so defensive to anybody who tried to have a conversation with her. I will say
Yeah.
some of them were more pointed,
Right.
and they were angry, but some
Like,
of
people
them
were
were,
pissed off.
yeah, they were pissed. And some of the other ones though were more like, how how do you grapple with the fact that Trump had DV um, that Trump had domestic violence in his past marriages and
Yeah.
the things that he has said about women and the fact that he's a convicted rapist. How do you, as a DV advocate, rationalize that?
Yeah.
And she didn't respond to any of those. And
Really?
no, but she responded to other ones, but she was avoiding a lot of the very big points that people were asking. And one thing for me is that feminism is what gave us the ability to get divorced. It
Yeah.
gave us no fault divorce, and it
Mhm.
lets us own property, and it makes it
Mhm.
possible for us to leave our abusive husbands. So
And
I
to
just,
vote.
yeah, I just don't
Mhm.
understand the disconnect. I can understand somebody who has been raised conservative. I mean, I wouldn't vote conservative, but I can understand maybe if someone was like brought up in that. But to read the comments, a lot of them, and what really finally got me was one was incredibly transphobic. So
Yeah.
it was the left can't even define what a woman is. She was talking about men and women's sports and locker rooms, and someone said, "How could you vote for
Mm.
Trump?" And she said, "Because he's not afraid to say Merry Christmas." Um, it was a wild comment section, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, wild, and it hurt, and I think a lot of the women in that comment section felt extremely hurt because
Mhm.
they felt like this was a safe place. And because I know people who are trans and I love people who are trans, I was appalled
Yeah.
by the venom in the responses. It was even worse for me than just what the initial video was, that I
Yeah.
asked her to please take my episode down. And it was hard because then I had people who were supporting her coming after me and saying that I was being selfish for wanting my story to be taken down because now I'm not helping women.
Uh,
Um, which, hey guys, if anybody wants to hear my story, I have been on many other podcasts and you can go listen to it there, but
or
they were
on your
saying,
TikTok.
yeah, they were saying that I was selfish. How dare I take
Mm.
away my episode from her podcast? But I just don't want to be aligned, um, or have my story be told on her platform. So, anyway, somebody wrote me and said that she had been following this girl for a long time and that she was really hurt by it and that she was hoping that we could talk about it on Overshare. And yeah, then we also got this question about Christian nationalism. So I thought
Yeah.
this would be a good time to talk about it. I think there's a lot of grief going on right now. Um, and it's hard. And I don't think
Yeah.
any of us know how to navigate it, really.
Yeah.
I see so many TikToks of therapists are struggling trying to put some water on some fire, because
Yeah.
it's how do you tell people that things are gonna be okay when
Mhm.
everything feels very not okay? And,
Yeah.
um, I think for me personally, puzzling has been yeah, puzzling is not the answer to Christian nationalism, but, um, to
Hey, no, no,
keeping
no. Coping. That is the question.
coping, sanity, keeping my sanity, doing things that I
Mhm.
like, trying to just
Yeah.
spend time with people I love, and then
Mhm.
also just find a community who also is going through it because I think so many of us are disappointed. So many of us have seen a lot of horrible things online. this week,
Yes.
and including some people who I know saw the video. I thankfully didn't. I've avoided the video, but it's
Right.
horrible for everyone to see. It's horrible. It's violent. It never should have happened, and uh, yeah, it's hard for a lot of people right now. So,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, I would say that it feels too soon to know how to cope for me. So it's like I don't really have, not that the rise of Christian nationalism hasn't been happening. I mean, it's been happening. I do think that we've hit these moments in the recent week where it feels like a shift or that it's maybe just kind of in our faces. And again, I want to reiterate that both of us do not support or condone any type of violence, violence of any kind against any human being. And I think I'm struggling with holding the grief of what happened to Charlie Kirk and also my shock and surprise at the response from my conservative friends and family. Um, Especially seeing as the blame is being placed on the left, and it wasn't the left who caused the incident, and so that's very confusing to me. Like, I'm very confused about the response, and so I am kind of in this place where I feel like I'm being personally attacked for being a liberal person, for being a queer person, because of what happened to Charlie Kirk in my own family. Like the posts that are being made, the stories that are being made, although it's not calling out Mackenzie Janae,
Mhm.
um, the things that are being said are directly toward people who live and think and exist like me. And it's also coming from people who I didn't know feel the way that they feel. And so that has been really challenging. I'm confused at why we are um, overlooking other atrocities and tragedies that have happened recently in light of the recent event. I think that's really confusing to me. Um, and so, yeah, I feel fear. I feel like I don't know how to have relationship with my family members right now.
Yeah.
Um, Genuinely, like, there are people like one person specifically, I haven't been responding to any of the comments, but one person specifically that is close to me and my family, I was shocked to see a post that they made on their stories, and so I responded, um, to the post, and basically their response back to me was, you know, "I love you. Like, we're allowed to have differences." And it was so interesting to me because the post that they created was very much like, if you think and feel this way, like, I'm talking to you. I'm angry at you. And so then I was like, but I'm this person that you're talking to. And then
Yeah.
they said, oh, but we can have differences. Like, I love you. And so I don't know how to cope with that. Like, I'm putting a weighted vest on and going on a walk every day. Like, I'm working out and moving my body. Um, I'm disassociating a little bit. When the anger comes up, I avoid the hell out of it. Like, I don't, it's not, it's, there's some healthy coping mechanisms and there's not, right? Like, I'm avoiding it because I don't even know how to cope with it. I I think also I'm hearing a lot of people, and Juby, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, who are like, this is the beginning of something like really scary in our country. Like, this is what happened to this man is going to be the catalyst of something really significant. And I think we say that about a lot of things and you never really know, how things are going to pan out, but I'd be lying to say that I'm not afraid, of what it could mean, and what pushback could look like. So, I don't know, does anyone know how to cope with.
We're asking you.
Yeah, I mean, does anyone
Yeah.
know how to cope? Because you're right, like, the last thing that this person said is, like, "What is happening?" That's the biggest question is, we don't really know what is happening. And I know you're saying it just like, "What's happening?" Right? Like, what in the world is happening? But if you really think about that, like, what is happening? I don't really know. I think that there's a lot happening under the surface that we don't really know about, that it's like at the end of the day, like, we can't really stop the train from moving, so we kinda just have to go along with it and deal with things as they come, and that's why it's so hard to know how to cope, because tomorrow it could be a completely different thing that we're having to learn how to cope with. So, I it's a hard time. It's
It is
really
a hard
hard.
time.
It reminds me, and I feel like this is gonna be looked at as, like, dramatic, but you know that feeling when COVID was beginning and we were all kind of just, like, floating in
Mhm.
some weird space of the unknown? That's how this it doesn't feel exactly like COVID. It's not exactly like that, but it is familiar in a way of being like, "Oh, I've felt this way before. When did I feel like this? Oh, yeah, COVID." I felt this floaty, I don't know what's going on feeling.
Mhm.
That's kinda how I feel right now. I think a lot of us feel that way.
Yeah, we definitely do. It's it's hard to know what to think or feel, and it's just disappointing. You know,
Yeah.
incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, I think that we're a little bit struggling with even how to, like, move on from this question. Of course, we put it in the middle of or not even at the end of the episode because we have, like, more to do. Um, but it's hard to know how to actually move on because I think the end of that question of what is happening, that's how it feels. It's just dot, dot, dot. There's no response. There's nothing we can really say or do. There's no ending. We just have to that's what we have to say, and we move on because who the fuck knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is it would be good to follow Monty. I love
Mm,
Monty. She shares a lot and fights against Christian nationalism. So she's a
cool.
great resource. And another person is April. Oh my gosh, I hate that I'm being called out by myself right now. I think it's
Uh,
a joy. So it's April, and then you spell her last name Ajoy. But I've never
okay.
actually heard it said aloud, so I don't
So
really
you
know.
don't
But
okay.
no, but she's great. We're mutuals, and she is also fighting Christian nationalism. She wrote a book about it, and she is a Christian, so I know that that is such a good resource for people and
Yeah.
hopeful for people to see a Christian who is fighting against Christian
Yes.
nationalism. She's wonderful. I love her. So yeah, she is a great
Yeah.
resource as well. But yeah, let us know how you guys are coping. We're surviving. That's what
Yeah.
we're doing. Are you ready to get into the last one?
Yes, I am ready.
I have a friend that I really care about, but every time we hang out, she only ever wants to do what she wants to do. If she wants to shop, we shop. If she wants to go to her favorite coffee shop, that's where we go. When I suggest something, she'll either ignore it or tell me that it isn't really her thing. I've started noticing that she's never once gone out of her way to do something that I suggested, even though I constantly adjust to her. I don't want to be petty or keep score, but I'm debating if I should bring it up.
Oh, that's really hard. And you should absolutely bring it up. That's what I think. I think that it is so draining and not sustainable to live inside of your friendship to please the other person all the time. And that a friendship is a two-way street. I heard something by Reese Witherspoon. I listened to this podcast probably like 5 years ago. And she was on a podcast called We Can Do Hard Things with Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach and Amanda, her sister. And they had Reese Witherspoon on to talk about friendship. And one of the things that she said really stuck with me. And it was that friendship is you have to look at it like deposits and withdrawals. Like you can't go to make a withdrawal from the bank if you haven't made a deposit. And so if she is in a crisis in her life and she thinks, "Oh, I'm going to call this person." She says, "I stop myself before I make that call and I ask myself, how many deposits have I made in the last week? How many deposits have I made in the last month?" And then I gauge whether or not it feels right to me to lean on that friend for this thing based on how much I have put into that
Mhm.
relationship. And I think that also fits in this scenario because, yes, it's not necessarily like reaching out or leaning on each other. It's just kind of about like hanging out and spending time together. But it's the same idea that if you don't feel seen or valued or like this person is willing to bend for you or even just consider you, like, consider, well, maybe they don't like the coffee from my favorite coffee shop. Maybe they despise shopping because it's overwhelming to them. Like, maybe you don't even like those things, but you do them because you love your friend and you're considerate of them. They should also be considerate of you, and it's going to just be draining you. I mean, you're going to be completely depleted within this friendship if you're never filled up. And so, yeah, I think it's actually a really important thing to have a conversation about, and to feel like maybe, you can talk about your need to feel seen and loved and cared for, and that a way that this person can do that is considering you and the times that you hang out together. And if they're willing to do that, great. And if they're not, then you can go from there. But I think that knowing whether that person is willing to consider you is probably a really good indicator of how much more you should be pouring into that relationship. That's what I think.
I agree. I definitely think that you should talk about it because you want to give her the opportunity to change before
Yeah.
you cut off the friendship or find yourself retreating. Because you
Mhm.
might feel, because I know a lot of people might feel, well, okay, they're just this way and I don't really feel good around them. So I'm just going to stop hanging out with them. And the truth is, she might not know that she's doing this, or she might be
Yeah.
surrounded by a bunch of people who have never told her that she kind of has this flaw where she just lets things be her way. You know, you see this sometimes with only children. Not all the time. I know some great. Oh wait, you're an only child. Sorry.
I'm an only child.
Yeah, I was thinking of my ex because he was kind of like that. He never really had to share,
Yep.
sometimes that can be a thing. So, yeah, I would give her the opportunity to change, and if she doesn't, then you can reassess from there, but I would just
Yeah.
go to her and say, "It kinda hurts my feelings because whenever I suggest something, you say you're not into it, but sometimes I'm not always into the things that we do, but I know you love it, and I just wanna hang out with you. I just wanna spend quality time with you, so it would mean a lot to me if we could do some things that I want to do, or you could even
Yeah.
make it like a fun thing. Me and Bran will switch off when it comes to movies and TV shows and
Mhm.
maybe make it a thing where you're switching off, doing new activities or I don't know. I mean, I guess you
Yes.
don't have to baby her. She should actually just be okay with giving you 50%, but I think yeah, definitely having a conversation is warranted because if you wanna keep the friendship, I really think that that's the only way to do it without having a lot of resentment.
Yep. I agree. Unfortunately, I've actually had this experience with a friend, and it honestly, it kind of did give me insight into the friendship, because when I did bring it up, it was more of like a, "No, I don't do that." And then that showed me, okay, well, then I
Yeah,
need to pull back for my own sanity. That's
mhm,
somehow
and that
times how
might
it
be
is.
the reaction.
Yeah.
She might say, "Well, that's not true," or like, "It's not my fault that you never wanna do anything fun." I mean, who
Yes.
knows what she could say, or she could also really not realize that she's doing it and switch up real fast. So, I think her
Yeah.
reaction is gonna tell you a lot of what you need to know. Alright, are you ready to jump into our overshare moments of the week?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alright, do you wanna go first?
Sure. Okay. So, um, I'm not gonna get into too much detail of my overshare. I'll make it quick and easy here. But I have been thinking that my house is maybe haunted. So I posted a little bit about this on TikTok. And so I have been going to estate sales with my fiance, which has been super fun. We've gotten some items, okay? And ever since we've gotten these items, I've been just having some weird stuff happen at the house, and I really thought that it was just kind of in my head at first, and I don't until last night, I didn't feel any, like, weird feeling, which I'm very sensitive to things like this, so I typically feel energy a lot, like, I feel like, a weird vibe. I really haven't felt anything at all. But things like flying across my house. Like, I was sitting in the kitchen and all of a sudden my frother for my coffee like flings off the counter. And the little boy that I nanny is standing there and he goes, "Why'd that happen?" I'm like, "I don't know why that happened."
Was it
And
on?
then no.
Oh my
No, it was
god.
in the holder. Like, it has a little holder, and it's, like, sitting inside the holder, and all of a sudden it goes whoosh off the counter. And then another thing was a thing of cat food was on my dog's, dog bed because she stole it and I hadn't picked it up yet. And she was lying peacefully asleep, and this thing of cat food that was on the opposite side of her extra large dog bed flings off the dog bed and hits the wall, and I'm standing in the kitchen looking directly at it. So that happened.
Oh my
Then
god.
another thing is we were in the bathroom feeding the kittens, and my youngest was sitting on the toilet holding one of them, and I'm in the closet and I hear all of this, like, these things falling, and so I look in to like, out of the closet into the bathroom, and all of the soaps had fallen, like, all of them had fallen off of the bathtub onto the floor, and I looked at my daughter, and I was like, "What happened?" She goes, "I don't know, they just all fell off." And it was no one's in there, like, she's sitting on the opposite side of the bathroom. And then the last and craziest thing, I would say well, that's not the craziest, but the last thing that happened was, Luca, my fiancé, was taking a shower, and he heard someone or something get off our bed, and our bed creaks every time you get on it and off of it, and he very clearly heard that sound. It makes a very distinct sound every time, and I was in the living room, and the dogs were asleep on the couch, and so he called for me. He was like, "Babe?" And then he came into the living room. He was like, "Were you in the bedroom?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "I heard someone get off the bed." So, yeah, then last night it did start up where I woke up in the middle of the night to feed the kittens and I couldn't go back to sleep because I felt something very strong like standing by the bed and I got like very, very cold. And I've been having this smell like I can smell it smells like perfume and something burnt, like a match burning or something. I smell it like in my room, like lingering in my room. It's very weird. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a paranormal specialist. I'm just living my life, but those are my experiences. That's what's going on with me this
Oh.
week.
Oh my gosh, Kenzie, no. That's
I
so
know.
freaky. So
It
what are you
doesn't
gonna
feel
do? Are you
bad.
gonna get rid of the stuff you bought? Or what
No,
are you gonna do? No?
not unless it starts being like very scary. Like if something like really weird happens, it's like feels scary or dangerous, then I'll think about doing that. But if it's just like a ghosty who's like, "What's up? I live here now." I don't re that doesn't really bother me. I just kinda wanna know what it is. If it's gonna be disruptive, I do want it to go. But if it's just gonna chill and, like, play with the shampoo bottles, I don't really care about that very much. But if it keeps me up every single night, that's gonna bother me. So if you can hear me in this house, love you, be nice.
Love you, be nice. Yeah, my family's house was haunted.
My
Our
god.
our family's house well, actually, here, this will be my overshare moment. I'll piggyback off of your overshare moment, but
Yay, okay.
so my family's house burned down. I don't know if I've shared that, but their house burned, I think it was in 2019.
Yeah.
And that was a whole thing. It didn't fully burn down, but the entire upstairs did and like half of the downstairs. And it
Mhm.
was just crazy. I mean, I got a call at 11 p.m. at night from my mom saying, hi, we're all safe, but the house is not the same. And it was crazy. I got on a flight, went back home, walked around, and it was pitch black in there. It was crazy. I've never seen walls look so black and just the smoke damage. It was horrible. And my poor mom, she wasn't even home. Thankfully, no one was home when it happened. But my mom got a call, or no, wait, she was coming up the street and she saw all of the firemen and the police officers, and they told her, oh, do you live here? Come here, and they're still actively trying to take the house and, stop the burning. And our neighbor who he's nicer now from what I heard, but for a while he was mad at us because he was like, y'all could have burned my house down. We're like, okay, thanks,
Like, okay.
we didn't do it on purpose. Like we were really wanting this to happen, but anyway, the house was for sure haunted before all of that happened.
Mhm.
My sisters had seen some crazy stuff in there. Some
I
stuff in
have
the
2.
I believe you,
Mhm.
and I
In
don't
that
know
house.
what it is because I have never seen anything. I don't wanna see anything. I'm very sensitive to that stuff. No, thank
Mhm.
you. But my sisters always told me that they saw stuff in the vents and you saw stuff, and ever since the house burned down, it's gone. It's
Yeah.
gone. And,
That's
I
crazy.
I'm thankful for that, but it was crazy that it really did get rid of it. But yeah, I try to stay away from that kind of stuff, but oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Kenzie, you're gonna have to keep us updated and
I
tell
will, I'll
us.
let you know if anything else happens.
Yeah, let us know. Oh my gosh, so
I
crazy.
honestly I can't believe I talked about it in the house because 'cause I've been trying not to talk about it in the house, but it's
Oh
okay.
my
Because
gosh,
I feel like
that's
if I
okay.
talk about it, it feeds it, but I'm just, "I love you. We're
I love you.
friends."
It's fine. Friendly ghost, Casper.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Overshare Hour. We're so
Yeah.
happy that you guys are here.
Yeah, we love you guys. And thank you so much for all your great submissions recently. It's been an honor to answer them. And we hope that we hear some updates from you guys. We love getting updates. We do get updates sometimes, and we just want to let you know we read them and we love them and we're so grateful for them. So please don't feel like they're not going to be read. Send them in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.